Champaign County Agriculture Today with your host, Dennis Riggs.
Hello and welcome to Champaign County Agriculture Today. I'm your host, Dennis Riggs, and for the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to talk about one of the most important industries here in East Central Illinois, and that is agriculture. And you may be saying, why do I want to know more about agriculture? Well, believe it or not, agricultural products touch your life every single day. And we're going to talk about the products that do that with a couple of great experts that we have on our panel today. Coming in here are folks that just know everything about corn and soybean-based products. We're going to start out, Julie Toohill. Julie is the communications manager with the Illinois Soybean Association in Bloomington. Julie, tell us just a little bit about yourself and about your organization.
Okay, I work for the Illinois Soybean Association, and so we represent the soybean checkoff, which is the organization that all farmers in Illinois pay into as they market their grain. And then I also represent our membership side, and we do some of the same functions but work more on a legislative side. And so I handle all of the information and education projects for the board.
Very good. Well, glad to have you with us today. Thank you for your time. Next, we'll go over across to my far left to Mr. Mark Lambert. And Mark is with the Illinois Corn Growers Association and serves as their communications director. Now, Mark, give me a little bit of background. As a communications director, you're not talking to the corn, you're talking to other people, right?
That's right. With consumers, with the media. We get a lot of questions from the public every single day wanting to know about corn products.
And you've been in the communications field for quite some time, I understand.
For a long time. Yeah, it's been 18 years.
18 years. Well, thanks. I'm glad to have you with us. And just a little bit about the corn growers. Is that funded much as the Soybean Association, funded by farmers, or where's the money come to run the organization?
It's very similar. There are actually two organizations. Corn Growers Association is a member organization, a typical trade association. And we do a lot of legislative work on the marketing board side, the corn marketing board. Farmers pay into a checkoff program that then funds market development, research, and promotion.
A very wise man in the ag industry once told me that the product that we grow on our farms actually does not have a value until it's consumed. You know, you can grow it, you can haul it, you can store it, you can dry it, you can grind it, but until it's actually consumed in its final use, that's when the value of that product is realized. And today we have a whole bunch of consumable products right here. On a previous program, we have talked about things that people actually consume in their diet. And I want to recap for just a second. Julie, what's the most exciting thing that people consume in their diet that's soy-based?
Well, for me, it'd be tofu, but a lot of people don't like that. But as we learn to incorporate soy foods into our diets, there's a lot of possibilities. And I think as we talked about on that program, the biggest thing is we consume a lot of soy without really knowing it. Soybean oil and even soy flour are in most of the baked and snack type foods that we consume.
Great. Mark, let's turn to you. The most exciting thing, if you had to just narrow it down to one thing that is a corn consumable as far as human consumption, what do you think it would be?
Well, I think the thing that consumers can probably relate to is microwavable products. The food industry for corn was largely maturing until people started wanting to put more products and cook them in their microwave. And one of the ways that they made those products, what consumers expect when they cook it, is by putting modified cornstarches in them. So it became a very big market, and that's expanding every day.
Very good. Well, those are exciting things, and I hope people get a chance to see that program we've done. But today we're going to talk about non-consumables, things that are more product-oriented. And we have a picture, slide number 1, that we're going to take a look at. And people are going to look at this picture, and I want them to pick out the soybeans in that picture, okay? That picture is going to pop up, and it's going to look like a lot like a combine. You're going to say, well, how do you make a combine out of soybeans? Julie, can you expand upon this a little bit?
Well, the thing on this that would have soybeans would be the rear panel that would be there where you see the John Deere symbol and then also the slow-moving vehicle sign. And that is made out of a soybean-based polyurethane. And from the information we found, just that door, the door itself weighs about 35 pounds, but it contains about 14 pounds of soybeans.
Wow. All
so
right.
it'd be a plastic made out of soybeans.
All right. So they really don't make combines out of soybeans, just parts of combines.
Just parts, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Very good.
Which, you know, makes a lot of sense. They're going to use that to harvest it, so they might as well have it be made out of soybeans.
Great
as well.
tie-in as far as I'm concerned. Okay, now we're going to switch to Mark. And Mark, look at all this stuff that we have up here on our counter today, a lot of neat things. I've got to start off with a bottle of water. Now, are they making water out of corn, Mark? You've got to grab that and kind of show me what's going on there. What's the deal with that?
Well, this is it's a marketing concept where this company is going on the healthful nature of their water, and they are putting it and bottling it into a corn-based plastic. So this bottle is made from polylactic acid, or PLA, which comes from corn.
There was a lot of talk a few years ago about the plastics that would biodegrade if they were tossed along highways, which of course we hope nobody does. Is that what we're talking about here, or this is a little bit different?
That's exactly what this is, which one of the things that this plastic means is when they throw that bottle away, if they put it into a compost situation, it'll break down very quickly and be safe for the environment.
Very good. Well, that's fantastic. All right, Julie, we're going to go over to you now. A lot of products up here that just look like normal everyday things we use. Pick out one and tell us how soybeans are involved in that.
Well, I think, again, there's so many things, and I think a good way to kind of transition into this, even some of the things that Mark's talking about with the plastics, is that one of the most important things about incorporating, whether it's corn or soybeans, into any of these products is maybe more the story of what we're replacing than what's actually in that. And that is that we're replacing petroleum products. And everybody's familiar with the fact that we're replacing petroleum products through both the ethanol and the biodiesel side. But there's so many of these other products that are doing the same thing, whether it's industrial cleaners or really the plastics, things like that. And from environmental reasons and the fact that they're renewable resources versus the petroleum, which of course is not, we see a lot of advantages with that. That being said, a lot of the things that we have such an appeal to just the consumer market. Candles are one of the things that we have here that are made out of soybeans. And of course there's thousands of different kinds of candles on the market, but what we have found the advantage with some of the soy candles is that they're clean burning. They don't leave behind a lot of soot. They maintain their fragrance real well. And again, the best thing is we're sitting here in East Central Illinois, is that they're made from soybeans that we're growing here. And we've found a huge market for soy candles with the farm community and rural communities as well.
That's great. Mark, let's go on down the line there. I see some little green things down there that I'm not quite sure if the folks at home can see that, but what are we talking about there? What are those?
Well, they're not always green. They make them in a white version too, which people are probably more familiar with. But these are the packing peanuts that when you get boxes in the mail lots of times, or you buy products, they have styrofoam either molded around it to keep it from getting broken, or it'll be packed in a loose material like this. And this actually is made from corn. 95% corn, so it has a number of advantages. One being that styrofoam is horrendous in the environment. It never breaks down. In fact, they don't even know what the half-life of it is. If you throw it away, it's going to, you come back in 500 years, it's still there. This product has a couple of advantages. It's non-static, so static is horrible for electronics especially, so they really like this for packing electronic equipment into it. And then the other advantage is when you get a product at home, you take it out of the box, you don't have this stuff sticking to your pant leg and blowing around the room, and then trying to figure out, corralling it, trying to figure out what you're going to do with it when you're done. You can actually dump this in the sink and turn the water on. It'll dissolve it and go right down the drain in seconds.
Fantastic.
And it's perfectly safe to do that. So
That's
it's
great.
a neat product.
A product like that, is that produced here in Illinois? Is it produced in the United States? Where does it come from?
Well, they make these products all over the country. And a lot of the plastic products, they're making a pellet. Is how they start out. The manufacturers just make a pellet, and then that pellet is sent to the people who are making plastic products, and they just integrate that right into their operation. So there are a number of facilities that are making those plastic products, and people come to them and buy them, and they can make a host of degradable plastic products.
Has industry had to retool? Have they had to come up with a lot of new processes? Or once again, as we've talked about, is it just a replacement of the naturally grown products with petroleum-based?
I think in some of the products there may have been some fine-tuning, but the best way to get an industry to adopt something new is to try and make it fit their existing operation as well as possible. So it's really largely unchanged. It's just changed their thinking more than their equipment.
There you go. Well, I've got a product here that it's been sitting here and almost been looking at me this whole entire time, and this is just soft and cuddly little teddy bear. Oh my gosh, this is a neat product. Julie, is this, I believe you brought this along.
I did.
Tell us about this guy here.
Well, that guy's name is Tofu Bear. And
Of course it is.
It is. Doesn't that make sense? And I had to borrow that from my daughter. She wasn't real sure she wanted that to leave the house today. But this is actually one of the most recent things that I have found that we are doing with soybeans, and it is fabric. The entire outside of the teddy bear is made from a soy-based fabric. And if for people who've had an opportunity to feel it, the neat thing is it feels almost like cashmere.
Yeah.
It's extremely
Wonderful.
soft.
Yeah,
And the name of the product it's made out of we call soy silk. And it's what is made from, when we make tofu, there's residue, there's product that's left over that doesn't go into the tofu, and he's waving, and that's what is used to make the fabric. In addition to just the teddy bears, we have some yarn that, of course, eventually, or at the beginning, was used to make that. We have yarn, and what we're finding is some women's groups that are making booties and little hats for preemie babies, because with sensitive skin, especially with newborns, they found that the soy fabric is so soft and so gentle on their skin that they're using it in those applications. And I've got a t-shirt that's made out of the same type of product. And
this one here?
It is,
Okay.
yes. And same thing, it's very soft, and that's the advantage that we found with it.
Now, so it's exactly the same thing, as just processed a little bit different to make it into a fabric rather than the fluffy stuff.
Right,
whatever it
exactly,
is.
exactly. And we found these are great gifts, especially the teddy bears, for people. If you have a farm background or have grandparents that used to farm, they're a really neat gift that you can give to
Not quite my
somebody.
size.
It's not in pink. I don't
They
know
make
if
it in
that's
different.
your color.
Yeah, it's not my color. You're right. Well, okay. Well, not to be outdone, Mark, I believe you have some clothing items down there also. Let's fight back with a little bit of corn in your shirt there.
Well, this is a product that started out in a very strange way. Once they developed the technology for PLA and putting it into fabric, we were making all of that corn product here. But it was years before you could buy it here.
Oh, wait a minute. PLA.
Polylactic acid.
Okay.
Comes
Thank
from.
you.
Aren't you glad you asked? But it comes from corn.
Okay.
But it was in such demand overseas that they were paying so much for it that the companies were shipping it all overseas. It's just been in recent years that they're increased production enough that you can actually there's enough volume you can buy products here in the United States. This shirt is a PLA product. They're making bedding from PLA today. You can go into a Bergner's store or a Bed Bath & Beyond, and they have comforters and pillows that are all made from PLA. Very soft, very warm, and it's made here.
Fairly price competitive. With all those superior attributes, it would be worth just a little bit more to have that superior product, especially for the children's clothing and stuff like that. What are we finding out as far as the financial side of it?
Well, that's one of the reasons that it was slow coming here, is because it was very pricey. A lot of it was going to Japan. A lot of the technology, once they wanted to make other products or other types of fabric out of it, to make a range of fabrics now, they were developed there once they got their hands on the idea. And the volume is up now, so they are selling them here, and the price is very competitive now.
Okay. Well, let's turn from a few items we got here, and we may come back to that. Let's talk about the room that we're in, or as our viewers may be watching from their home today. We're going to go to slide number 4 here in just a second, and that's going to talk about some backing that may be on the carpeting these days. We've got a picture of that, and carpeting, of course, is everywhere. It's here in our chambers where we're filming this today, and a lot of people at home have got carpeting in the rooms. Here's a picture of it. Julie, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. The backing on this carpet is made from soybeans, and again, this in most instances would be made from a petroleum-based product, but here it has been converted. The soybean oil has been converted into a form that can be used for the backing for the carpet. And it functions almost the same as a traditional petroleum-based product, but again has the environmental advantages that we would expect from a soybean-based product.
Now, of course, that backing has been glued together, and I understand there's some adhesives that are also being used with soybeans.
Yep, and the adhesives can be used with the carpet backing. Most times we see them where they're used in furniture making and in craft applications where they're using the adhesive to join two pieces of wood is usually where we see more of the adhesive being used.
Okay. Well, let's move up the wall a little bit. We're going to move up to slide number 5 here. And so we're going to go from the carpeting that's down there on the floor and the glue to hold some things together. And as we move up the wall, and if we can take a look behind the wall, which we don't see very often, we see insulation. Tell me about the insulation that we're seeing here in the walls of the house.
This is a soybean-based spray-in-place polyurethane insulation. So again, the soybeans are replacing that petroleum base. And what we're finding is it's extremely energy efficient. It increases the R value significantly in homes and then in businesses. Again, it's healthy. A lot of times when you have a spray-in insulation, it's releasing particles into the air. And then you also can find that it helps to conserve the environment.
Okay, good. Well, it looks good. It looks like it would really keep the old cold weather out. But now once you get that insulation on, we have to put something over top of that. And Mark, I understand that corn is involved in some drywall applications now.
It's in drywall. It goes into. It has actually been in adhesives also for years. It's been a big market for agriculture, one that's not largely recognized, and it's because of some of them are just caustic to handle, to dispose of, and when they started introducing the ag products, they became safer. So a lot of building materials I think are already containing these products, and then the list is going to grow.
We've talked about drywall on the walls. We ask everybody to look up and look at their ceiling tiles up on the ceiling. Likewise, is corn product used in the making of ceiling tiles?
In some of those products it is, and I think the initial research, if I recall, for that product was actually done at the University of Illinois.
That's good. All right.
They've developed a range of press boards and the ceiling tile material. A lot of that came out of research right here in Illinois.
Okay. Well, here we go. We've got the carpet on the floor. We've got the insulation in the walls. We've got the drywall on. We've got the ceiling tiles put on, and we've used corn and soybean-based products. We're going to go to slide number 6. And people are going to look at this slide and they're going to say, gosh, what is he talking about here and what's being utilized here? Well, gosh, are we talking about making some type of a fireplace out of corn products? Mark, what's going on in this slide?
Well, it's been something that's been out there for a long, long time, where you can use corn to actually heat buildings. I mean, it's a very, very efficient heat source. A lot of people, when they see that, always get into this discussion of the idea of burning corn for food. So it's it can be a little controversial with some folks, but when corn's abundant, it's something that makes a lot of sense. It burns very efficiently and it's very cost effective, and you're seeing more and more of it. There have been a number of companies that have popped up in recent years because of energy costs, and if you happen to live in a rural area like Champaign County, I think it's something that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I've got to tell the panelists and then our folks viewing at home that I now have one of those stoves in our house, and we just fired it up here not too long ago, and holy cow, is that thing fantastic. So it's an energy product. We're growing energy, and by burning it, that's just one more use of it. And if I'm burning corn in my stove, it means there's more LP gas for a whole lot of other people, because my house was a little hard to heat. All right, we have a picture number 7, it looks like, and we also have that here. You talked about it just a little bit ago. I wanted to get that slide up so people can have a little bit better view of the soy candles. Right. And we have one here in the studio. People are looking at it home on the picture there. Tell us how that product is made.
Well, this is just made from soybean oil, and then is made into a wax actually, and then melted down, and then the coloring and the fragrance would be added. And in fact, these are made fairly locally here to Champaign County, and there's companies all over that are making them, and most stores now that sell any sort of specialty candle, you can find them that are made from the soy wax.
Very good. And do they last longer?
They do.
A lot of different advantages to it.
Right. They last longer. They maintain their fragrance a little bit better. They're much cleaner burning. You don't have, on a typical candle, you'll have a lot of the soot that builds up around the edge, and we don't find that with the soy candles.
Very good. Well, gosh, you've got me sold on these soy candles. So if we're going to pull up slide number 8 here in just a second, I'm going to go out and buy just a whole truckload of these soy candles, and I'm going to have to haul them in my truck. But in this slide here, we're seeing there's a liner. There's something different about this truck. Tell me about what's going on there.
Sure. This liner was made from soybeans. And again, it was made where we convert it into a petroleum-like product, and then it's a spray-in liner that folks can put in the back of their pickups. Very
good, man. It's very durable, and
it is. It lasts. And again, the biggest thing I think that both Mark and I keep coming back to on all of these things is that these products are so much better for the environment. They're coming from renewable resources where we grow lots of corn and soybeans, not just here in Illinois, but in the United States. And anytime we identify new ways that we can use them and reduce the use of petroleum, where we all know from the prices we've been paying for our gas that, and the LP that you mentioned, that we need to use and maintain those resources for things like our automobiles and heating our homes, where if we can convert this over and replace some of that petroleum for things like liners for trucks, we've got a good thing there.
I got to ask this question. That bed liner made from soybeans, that's not like Mark's insulation made from corn. When it rains on it, it won't go away? No. Okay, good. I want to make sure that was not the case. Mark, you've got a big sack of stuff down there, and I'm not sure exactly what that is. Why don't you bring that up here and let folks kind of look at that? What have you got there?
This is actually kitty litter.
Okay. I was afraid you'd say that.
Well, one of the characteristics of corn is that there are certain components that have a lot of absorbency to them, so it makes sense for kitty litter. There are some companies that actually put it into diapers. In the industrial situations where they have a chemical spill, one of the ways that they have figured out how to handle those products before they get out into the environment is they'll actually throw a product across the top of a liquid spill that will absorb it and turn it into a gel so it can be scooped up in shovels and disposed of properly. So another one would be dressings in medicine. If somebody's badly burned, the dressings that they put on those people actually have an absorbent material that's made from corn, so those wounds dry out and heal quicker.
There was a company here in East Central Illinois, Mark, and help me out if this is still going, that made a filter for fluids. I can't remember if it was exactly for petroleum products like fuels that made it out of corn product. Is that still up and going?
I'm not sure about the status of that company in Illinois, but they are still making that product. There's a canister on gas pumps that actually passes the fuel through it to make sure that water does not get into their car. And it used to be, it was in the gas line itself, and you'd see it outside the pump and oftentimes trip over the darn thing. But now it's usually inside, so you don't see it, but it's still there, and it does have corn product in a lot of those.
And it's because of the absorbency of that corn product, and it's pulling the moisture that might be a freezing problem for people with the gasoline.
Right, and that technology was also developed in Illinois. Corn Checkoff put a lot of money into developing markets for that product. It came out of the Ag Lab right in Peoria.
All right. We're going to switch to slide number 9 here, and people are going to see this and they're going to think, well, we're just talking about Julie, where you work, and maybe some of the organizations you're involved with. But we're going to go to number 9, which is let's talk about this one for a second. Here is a chair made from soy products. Tell us about this one. Is that soy?
I think that one's corn.
That's that corn? Corn foam?
There are actually a lot of corn and soybean products that are going into cars today. And they came out with a Ford concept car a couple of years ago that featured virtually everything in it came from corn. It was amazing, from the convertible top on it to the tires. I mean, it was all contained corn. And those tires are on the market today. They're already marketing them in Europe, and we're waiting for them to jump the pond, as they say, and come here. But they are because of the age of those countries and the number of people who live there, they're very, very environmentally conscious. So oftentimes they get traction there before they actually hit a market here in the United States, but it's just a matter of time.
Gotcha. We're going to go to slide number 11 now, which is something that I think people have not seen a whole lot of, yet those of us that have seen it think it's a really cool product. And this, of course, is not just a sign for the Soybean Association and the Checkoff Board. Julie, tell us a little bit more about this sign here.
Well, this sign is made from a product called Environ, and that comes from soy flour and recycled newspapers. And the way I describe it, it has the density of oak, and it can be used for almost anything that wood would be used for. So furniture, countertops, floor inlay, really anything where you would use a wood type product. This particular picture is of the backdrop behind our reception area at the checkoff office. But it's really cool. It almost looks like marble, depending on the way that it's compressed. But it's just like you would see for a wood product, and it's pretty neat. And again, it's made from recycled newspapers and soy flour.
It's a fiber. It's using the fiber products of the soybean.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Exactly.
I have seen in some locations where they have a lumber replacement, where they have boards that they kind of look like they're plastic, but they're not. Is this the same type of product, or who produces that?
I think it'd be the same sort of
Environ.
product. Yep, it's made from that same Environ product.
Okay, Environment product is made in several different things. All right. Well, we've seen a lot of products here. Let's see. Mark, I think you had a ruler or something that was a plastic deal. Is that yours?
Yes.
Okay, let's take a look at that.
I have a number of products here that are all made from corn, just to kind of show the versatility of the PLA that was in the shirt that you saw earlier. You can make virtually any plastic product out of corn today. This ruler is made from it. The silverware, this cup, this corn mug up here is a corn product. It's corn plastic. Even these golf tees.
Oh, okay, there you go.
You know, if you're a golfer, you know how many of the wooden golf tees you stumble across in the tee box that people don't pick up.
Right.
A product like this is, you know, it can actually be left lying because it's going to actually biodegrade. Now the trick is you don't want to use it early in the morning right after they've watered, because by the second or third hole it's starting to get a little wobbly and doesn't hold that ball up very well.
My tees are wobbly after the first swing, so that would maybe give me an excuse possibly. I know the tee moved. Kids in school. I never had the 64 pack of crayons. I had to settle for the 48s. Julie, I understand that soybean is involved in the crayon industry.
Exactly, and we've got a small box of them, and these are just a promotional item that we have that we send out to schools, and actually we distribute every year thousands of boxes of crayons because it's a great way for kids to understand some of the different ways that ag products are used.
Let's take a look at those. That, of course, does the color make any difference, or is it just what they're all made out of?
Again, they're replacing a petroleum, because most crayons are based on some sort of a petroleum product, and so it's replacing that with the soybean oil. And again, they're biodegradable, they're healthier. We still would not encourage kids to eat them, but it may not have the same consequences as if they were consuming the regular crayons.
Okay.
And but it's neat. There's only the one company right now that's making them, but they make them readily available.
Well, Julie, there's also a couple bars of soap, or that's Mark's, I believe, that he brought in. Some Dial soap there, Mark. Give me a little bit of idea what those are all about.
Well, there are a lot of cleaning products and detergents that have corn in them. This particular one has sorbitol in it. There are dishwashing soaps as well that have corn in them. There was a lot of controversy years ago over the amount of phosphates that were going into soaps, and they were ending up in the environment. And you're probably old enough to recall some of those news programs with the suds going down the creek.
I'm afraid I am. That's correct.
So it was not a pretty thing, and it's one of the ways that they've taken care of that is finding ways to use corn in these products, and they've gotten very good at it. In recent years. It's in a host of detergents.
Well, in just the few seconds we've got left, I'm going to ask each of you to tell me about where you think the future is heading here. What's going on as far as products such as these, the non-consumables? We've talked about consumables before. Julie, where are we headed as far as the use of soybeans in products that we can use in our everyday life?
Oh, I think the future is basically unlimited. Every day we're identifying new uses, whether it's in foods or fuels or even in animal feeds, and improving that. But anytime we can introduce things like tofu bear to consumers, it's another way to educate people about the things that we're doing on the farm. And it's something that folks can connect with very easily.
Mark, how about you? What about in the corn market? Anything new on the horizon you've heard about here recently?
Well, I think that the big thing coming out of all this is, as I mentioned earlier, just realigning consumer thinking, and not just thinking of these products for food, because they are very versatile. And as the population grows and the oil supply shrinks, not just corn, not just soybeans, agriculture in general has a lot to offer in terms of new products coming out that are going to make our world cleaner and still give us the products we like and without the environmental consequences.
Well, an exciting time to have both of you on our program to talk about the great things that are going on out in the corn and bean fields here around East Central Illinois. And we want to thank you for listening. So on behalf of myself, Dennis Riggs at Champaign County Agriculture Today, and Tobear here, we'd like to say thanks for tuning in. Stop in again soon when we'll have another edition of Champaign County Agriculture Today.
Champaign County Agriculture Today is brought to you by Champaign County Farm Bureau.